Ooh, well, we're back. This is like the third time.
You know what I'm
It's almost
blaming
like
it
we're
on?
on a
I'm
what?
blaming it on the ghosts and the goblins and the witches and all of those things that are spirits that are coming out for Halloween.
It's not
All right, but
Groundhog Day, is it?
yeah, but we're back live, so no buffering issues, no echo now,
Right, we figured that
and
all out.
we figured it out.
Figured
All
it
right,
out, and we are back here live, and got to start all over again here on Leaving Ring. So I apologize for the folks that were on the chat room, and hopefully we can get everybody back on that was coming through. I'm going to tweet out again that we are back live again.
absolutely, and hopefully people will know that these things happen, unfortunately, from time to time. Technical issues, and we are a live show, so we don't pre-record and then upload. But the good thing is we're both two guys that learn from our mistakes, and we now know. Yeah, and we're patient, and we we know that there's no malicious intent here.
Savagely Boxing, my mind just said, "Y'all sound good and you look good."
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Familia. I appreciate that.
Hell yeah. All right, let's just restart all over again.
Yeah, let's go back to the top. You want to start off with the Chocolatito fight?
Let's start off with the Chocolatito fight. Off of his performance, like I said, I'll start this again. I thought he did a hell of a performance. Like I said on the round table, when the guys are in the smaller weight division, it could go south pretty quick because, in reality, these guys are not supposed to have a second part of their career. So to see Chocolatito do that and get in there with a young gun like Gonzalez and keep up with them, was able to conserve energy, look strong in the later rounds, cut off the ring, apply the pressure that he was able to apply. Again, I was in awe with that performance,
Yeah.
And it left me believing that he's going to be very hard and very difficult to beat come rematch with Estrada. I don't know about you, but he's a very, very live dog in this fight here. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily even call him the underdog. In my opinion, off of both of their performances, and Estrada getting dropped early from Cuadros, and in a very back and forth tug of war between the two, Estrada and Cuadros, this fight across the board, to me, I think the betting odds are going to be pretty even until close to fight night. Whenever that fight happens, it's going to be in Southern California because I know Eddie Hearn and DAZN would love to have a live audience and open gate there. So let's keep our fingers crossed and see what happens there. I don't know about you, Amilcar, but like I said, I think this is a 50-50 fight when it comes to the rematch between Chocolatito and Estrada.
Well, and I'm going to bring up some video highlights of it. We won't share the audio, but we'll have some video up here of the fight. I was fairly impressed, as I said earlier, with the fact that he could go 12 rounds.
Right.
But, let's be honest. Giga Gonzalez was a 23-year-old who went in there with 3 losses, if I remember correctly, and pushed Chocolatito the full 12-round distance. I think personally, and I said this earlier before we went dead during the broadcast, that a prime Chocolatito would have dispatched of a guy of this caliber fairly early. The Chocolatito we saw prior to the loss with Sor Rungvisai would have, I believe, dispatched of this opponent. Now, you can see him, being the classic Chocolatito, pressuring him, sending him to the ropes, using head movement, making the other Gonzalez, put him on the back foot and making him defensive. But you can see that, the other Gonzalez, Giga Gonzalez, was not at all intimidating. You can see him here throwing ones and twos and combinations on Chocolatito. Chocolatito took them well, but
right.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, the younger Gonzalez had a good game plan. It wasn't like they went out there and depended on youth. You could see the clear movement, the hand speed, putting punches together, almost trying to mirror what Gonzalez was doing to him, which was work the body and come back to the head. But
Yeah.
the difference is that Chocolatito was able to
Look at that body shot.
Right. He was able to sit on his punches when it was necessary, and he was able to time them when it was necessary, and that's something that a lot of older fighters kind of tend to lose. And I think it's astonishing to see that he's able to still capture that. Yeah, you're right. He might have taken this guy out in his prime, but this is prime enough for me that he can give anybody in that division a run for their money, especially Francisco Estrada. Hypo, what's up, brother? Thanks for joining us. I agree with boxing. My mind, whether it's in Mexico, whether it's in LA, I would slightly still favor Estrada, but the Cuadros fight did leave me wondering if Chocolatito was able to sit on those punches the way he was doing against this young Gonzalez, he could possibly drop him.
Yeah, you mean drop Estrada?
Drop Estrada, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I definitely don't think that at this point of his career that Chocolatito is any lesser of a fighter than Carlos Cuadras, and Carlos Cuadras put him on his ass. But at the same time, I'm seeing a guy here who's eating up a lot of punches and allowing, a lesser skilled opponent to kind of land on him. Had Giga Gonzalez had any more, punching power,
I think that's the thing there.
Yeah, right. Some of the body attack he was putting on Chocolatito might have taken some of those old legs out of him. But Chocolatito, look, he's got an engine, and he's got a will to win and a will to fight. So that on its own is going to make this rematch with El Gallo Estrada something that we should all look forward to.
Right. And I think that's why I would edge El Gallo over Chocolatito, because the fact that, like you just mentioned, there's two things here. The head movement, obviously, is not there. Okay. And the reason why the head movement is not there is because he is focusing on two things. He's focusing on coming forward. He's focusing on planning his punches. And there's three things. And then he's focusing on those combinations of what he's going to throw. Very fluently, he's doing it. Okay. But those are the three things that he's focusing. But here's another thing, though, that Estrada's his team should be able to see, which we're seeing here, is what you mentioned, the head movement. So that means that Estrada is going to be able to be in the pocket with them and throw a volume of punches, and they're going to land. So this is, to me, is who's going to land the bigger shots in the rematch, who's going to land the more significant shots in the rematch, and who can hold up to those shots in the later stretch of the fight.
Yeah, and this is where we might disagree, but I think that person is definitely going to be Estrada. On the back end of that fight, and we'll go to it next, he went to another level and he dispatched of his opponent. I didn't see Chocolatito do that here. I saw Chocolatito essentially go to full 12 rounds with a young kid that was essentially brought in to kind of be a stepping stone. I mean, I shouldn't really say stepping stone because of all that Chocolatito has accomplished, but, essentially someone that he should be getting a victory over. And I think this is a great,
honestly, I think this is a great opponent to boost yourself up. Boost yourself up, and one is that this could have went terribly wrong. You went in with a kid that is way younger, that ambitious in there, definitely showed up to fight and win on that card, on that Friday, on the undercard of the main event there. And if I was Team Chocolatito, what I saw, I would be completely satisfied and more confident going into the Estrada fight, because I know that my guy he's got juice in his legs, and he's still got a chin, and he can still throw for 12 rounds. Maybe he's not the old Chocolatito, but he's definitely durable right now still to Francisco Estrada, in my opinion.
I mean, he is catching a lot of Gonzalez's shots on his gloves, as we can see, but he's also eating a fair share of punches.
He is. And I think it would have been a different fight if
and this is
Gonzalez
the
had
12th.
power.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the 12th round, and Gonzalez is still throwing, 3 and 4 punch combinations on Chocolatito. The Estrada, and we'll get to the fight next, that finished Quadras later, I think would not be just standing here and taking these shots. I actually think that he would be potentially knocking out Chocolatito. But, the good thing about this fight is we know it's going to be a war, and we know it's going to be a fan-friendly, entertaining fight.
Fan-friendly. The difference with Estrada and against Gonzalez here, which again, I say that kudos to for the young Gonzalez went out there. It was a high-level fight. He should be proud of himself, went 12 rounds, brutal rounds, okay?
Yeah.
Was very competitive. He's only going to learn from this. What he lacked, though, and again, had a great game plan against Chocolatito. He moved. He was throwing when he needed to throw. He punched in between the punches of Chocolatito. But the thing is that what he lacked is what Estrada's going to bring, which is a bit more power and a little bit more experience. Estrada's going to be able to do things in there that the young Gonzalez wasn't able to do. He wasn't able to sneak in certain shots or even bully Chocolatito, like let him know that, hey, I got punching power too. I need to humble you. Estrada will be able to do that. And I think that's what's going to make the huge difference in the rematch there. And I think that's what's going to make for a great fight, because it's going to be two guys that are familiar with each other, but also two guys trying to remind each other. One guy's going to remind the other guy, hey, I beat you once, okay? And you guys thought you guys wrote me off. And I just showed against a young gun that I'm still here. And Estrada is going to go in there saying, hey, you beat me once, but this is a completely different time, and it's my time.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're also two guys, especially at this stage in their career with their older legs. They obviously, as the old adage goes, punching power is the last thing to leave a boxer.
Right.
And they obviously both have the punching power to knock each other out and to hurt each other. And for that reason alone, this is going to be a very exciting fight, because they're obviously two very highly skilled professional fighters.
If you're just tuning in right now, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you guys know when we're on live. Just to let you know, we are a live show, so we do have some technical problems. Hey, I want to thank everybody that's in the chat room. Savagely Boxing Mind, Hypo Type, Anopa, A-Rod, anybody that's joining in the chat room here with us, and thanks for hanging in there, even though I know we fell off a few times. Third time's a charm here on Leaving the Ring, but it wouldn't make Leaving the Ring if we didn't have some technical problems. We used to have all kinds of technical problems on Blog Talk. Now we're over here trying to do on YouTube. We're still having more technical problems here. But let's move on to the Quadras and Estrada fight, which a lot of folks have been saying it is potentially fight of the year, which I think is fantastic, because really I didn't think we were going to get much, being that we are living in the COVID era at this moment. And I thought that COVID was just going to keep us away from any type of sports, especially boxing, the one truly sport that we love here. And hearing would like to zone,
Absolutely. So just as we get into kind of looking at this fight and discussing it, right off the bat, you see that it was a much more even contest.
Right.
You had a guy who was 30 against a guy who was 32. They both started their pro careers the same years. And they essentially had mirror image results in terms of 43 fights, 27 knockouts. They obviously have history. And this, to me, was a fight I was looking forward to more. Not because of anything lack of interest in Chocolatito Gonzalez, more to do with my lack of interest in his opponent, Giga Gonzalez, who actually ended up being a surprise for me, because he actually boxed a lot better than I thought he would.
Right. What's up, D-Style? Thanks for joining us, bro. Again, everybody, thanks for coming on here. Again, A lot of folks are. I love the fact that now we have a whole category, and we do have a couple of fights that we can say are fight of the year. So it's going to give us some to talk about in mid December and stuff. He
And
got
that
the
was it
knockdown.
right.
That was it right there.
Right
Quadras.
there. I'll play it back. You know, he has his hand. He had his hands down a bit too much for my liking.
Well, he was kind of squared up right there with that uppercut.
Yeah, he was squared up. Yeah, and he kind of was retreating backwards and got knocked down. But you know, it was after this point, and I mentioned this before we went on our break caused by a technical issue, that then we saw kind of Estrada turn it up into another gear and come forward a lot more than he had been early on in the fight. Because let's face it, Estrada can actually perform very, very well as a counterpuncher, as much as he can as a kind of an inside pressure fighter. So he's a very well-rounded, highly skilled fighter in that regard. But as you said earlier too, Dave, I mean, Quadras really brought it as well.
No, I did, and my big question was, like, even on that round table that we did this past Thursday, was we knew that Quadras had a lot of miles. How was he going to look? Even though they're close in age, similar amount of fights. I mean, the same amount of fights and KOs on the record. Quadras was the one with the big question mark. But he goes out there, and you see immediately, he wanted to show Estrada that he was in for a real war. And that's actually what we got. I mean, both guys were having their moments, and
they were.
This to me was just like I said, it was a classic HBO boxing after dark. It took me back. That's why I felt. I literally felt like I was in a time machine, and I loved every second and every minute of every single round that these guys displayed on Friday night.
And what I love to see, obviously, with these two fighters, and you see it a lot in the lower weight classes, is just the punch variety. It's a lot more than just jabs and right hands, which is what we saw in the Showtime card. If we have time, we can get to that later. But both of these guys are throwing straight rights, roundhouse rights, left uppercuts, right uppercuts, left hooks, right hooks. I mean, look at this. Yeah, I mean, this is a kind of boxing that you rarely see in the upper weight classes. I mean, look at him slipping shots.
Well, this is one of the reasons why HBO started up the HBO Boxing After Dark, because the smaller weight classes weren't getting that recognition. Everybody was in love with the heavyweights, but the main complaint in the 80s and in the 90s from heavyweights was like one punch and then the fight was all over. Here, you saw volumes of punches, and you saw guys, literally athletes, being broken into bits and pieces slowly in front of your eyes. That's what made flyweights and featherweights and bantamweights and lightweights so exciting, because you're going to see guys throwing a large amount of variety of different punches, from different angles. And that's truly what the science is. It's what makes the sport so exciting. Don't get me wrong. I love the heavyweights, but there's literally 3 different types of flavors in boxing.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I've always been a big fan of the lower weight classes. And it was interesting because as the fight got into the 10th round, and you could really see it developing really into what was a war of attrition. You saw the tide turn in Estrada's favor, and there were multiple occasions where I thought the referee was going to step in and stop the fight. Yeah, but then Quadras would pull something out of nowhere and fire back, not just with 1 or 2 punches, but with actual combinations. So yeah, this was a brutal knockdown. You see it on his face too, how much of a war he's in at this point, and
that's all just pure adrenaline at the moment.
Absolutely.
That moment, because look, I mean, even his legs and his body, it's all just really reacting to what's happening in there. But honestly, think about it. Anybody else that would have been in front of him, of Estrada, Gallo, they would have been gone.
They could have stopped it. They could have stopped it multiple times. And honestly, this is what you get often in Mexico with Mexican referees. They do let it go a lot longer than they do in many of the commissions in the U.S. Ooh, what a
That was
knockout.
it. Yeah. Well, you know
That
why
was
the refs let that happen in Mexico is because if they stop it too soon in a heat of action, the audience will go nuts. I mean, bottles and stuff, chairs will be thrown in there, so they're kind of groomed to understand that they got to allow these two warriors, especially countrymen. They're going out there to mix it up. There's a lot on the line. There's a lot of pride on the line. So don't stop it on us.
And there you go. Even after that, what really should have finished the fight, to be honest.
Yeah, his head first going into that canvas, right?
Yeah, Quadras was still coming back. And I mean, the body attack, the head attack, it was just vicious stuff. And this specifically is what Chocolatito was not facing in his fight. That Estrada had to really battle through. And maybe that's going to be bad for Estrada coming into a big fight after a war like this. That's kind of an intriguing aspect of it if you think about it. One guy went through a war of attrition. The other went a solid 12 rounds, but was never really in that much trouble. Oh, look at the left uppercut.
And that's why I said, Quadros took a piece of Estrada, and that's why the rematch, in my opinion, evens out.
Oof, look at that.
Because you have to look at the fact that what you just said right now, Estrada was in a war, whereas Chocolatito really dictated that fight. He had control against the younger Gonzalez because the young Gonzalez had a good game plan to try to beat the smarter Chocolatito, but Chocolatito showed that he was the stronger and more talented and just more of a suave fighter than the young Gonzalez. So really interesting rematch, God, I want it to happen. It's going to happen, whether it's live gate or not. I hope it doesn't prevent it. If there isn't a live gate, because we all believe, I believe that the COVID thing is just going to roll over into 2020, and I don't see anything changing until mid next year. What's up, G-Funk? Yeah, man, we made it back. What's up, Joe Lopez? Yep, that card was just great. And like I said before, if you're just tuning in, the whole card, in my opinion, was a time machine back to the HBO boxing after dark. It was phenomenal. It was great. I had to watch it at least 3 times. That's how good it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you want to talk about Julio Cesar El Rey Martinez, but he is developed into a top-notch fighter, in my opinion. I was aware of him before the fight with Charlie Edwards, but for me, that fight really is what put me, I think, put him onto another level in terms of the fact that he went out to England, took on a guy who at least the English people were favoring against him, and he just made the guy quit. And it literally took, I was about to say Jose Suleiman, but
do you like that? Did you like the whole Mauricio Suleiman interviews?
Yeah, Mauricio Suleiman.
Oh my God, dude! I was like, take this dude's mic away, please. That was it. Yeah, Julio Cesar Martinez, dude. Yeah, that was a great fight, and that's the fight that really just set the mood for the main events.
Yeah, and he dispatched of him in 2 rounds, I believe, and he's just look at. He's so poised in there. He's got total confidence in everything that he's doing. And look at that.
Yeah.
Quick, sharp, straight punches. And when he doesn't get you around the guard, he'll get you right through the guard.
Yep, absolutely.
And if he can't work around your guard, he's digging into your body. He's developed into actually one of my favorite fighters in the sport right now.
Really quick, I want to mention this. I'm going to mention what D-Style just said in the chat room. Yeah. These apps are hurting exposure of boxing. If these fights were on HBO, it would have been everywhere. Imagine these fights on ESPN. You know what, D-Style? I said this in the in social media on Saturday night, and our good friend Ernesto Gabillon, who works for Everlast and Golden Boy, goes, "What do you mean? I thought they did a great job promoting this fight. And what do you mean by mass?" Because I had said to the masses. And I pointed out, I was like, dude, I don't think Like if it wasn't brought up on the round table, I would have completely forgot about these fights that happened on the zone between Chocolatito and Estrada, like that double header, because the fact that the zone dropped the ball with Canelo, everybody's main focus was the zone going to make a comeback? Was this the end of the zone? That was the headline on every boxing website, on everybody's mind. That was the headline. Think about this. The zone just all of a sudden started throwing up fights again. Did they promote it? Did you see it anywhere else besides if you're a boxing fan or you look regularly, weekly on the boxing schedule, or if you listen to a boxing podcast? Did you know about these fights? I didn't.
No, they're not being talked about. I mean, would we expect them to talk about it on ESPN? Probably not. I mean, it's a competitor, right?
Well, even so, you know what I mean? Look, the zone can throw a couple of chains to ESPN. There's still a network that takes money from outside sources to, they got to get paid.
No, I'm not excusing them. I mean, they can buy advertising, but
yep.
I have zero idea what their strategy is right now. I mean, they've stepped up the boxing schedule, and we can kind of go into it later. I'll throw it up, but they're still miles away from what they told us they would be. And am I excited about Chisora versus Usyk? Yeah, I am. Am I excited about Anthony Joshua, Kubrat Pulev? Not really, but I do like to see Joshua. So obviously I want to find a way to watch that fight.
Right.
And there's the stoppage there. Uppercut.
That was a great performance, bro.
Yeah.
Martinez. Yeah, no, he's definitely going to be a major player. Hey, let's move on, man. Let's talk about the fights that we are going to be watching on Halloween, which again, I was saying, hey, is anybody going to be out there trick-or-treating? And if so, I don't know about you, I'm probably not going to be getting off of my couch here on Saturday night because I'm going to be stuck in front of the tellies here watching every single fight. Let's go with the first one here, which is the Showtime pay-per-view, Santa Cruz versus Gervonta Davis. Now, let me ask you this. I'm hearing that Gervonta Davis is still having trouble making that weight.
Yeah, I remember earlier on, and shout out to D-Style, who was on our show when we were discussing this, and he was high on Santa Cruz. And at the time, I was a little bit skeptical about it, but I've actually come around on this. And the reason I've come around on it and seen it as a very close fight is because of Santa Cruz's output in terms of punches and what I would say is Gervonta Davis's lack of output. I'm not quite saying
I'm picking Santa Cruz. I think Santa Cruz pulls it off. I think the weight issue that Gervonta Davis has shown, which, may be lack of discipline, or it's just that his body can't make it and his promoter's telling him to stay at that lower division. I don't know, but I tell you what, his performance against Gamboa showed me a guy that still likes to be conservative with his punches.
Too conservative.
Now, he's got the power, but it didn't show, like his power didn't appear against Gamboa, who is a one-legged fighter and a guy that doesn't fight on a regular basis. Santa Cruz is a more active guy. And also, I think that needs to be pointed out. Santa Cruz is a much more intelligent guy than given credit.
Much more intelligent. And his volume punching is what I think is going to be the deciding factor here. I've rewatched Tank Davis's recent fights. He just does not throw enough punches. And Gamboa let him get away with that. I do not think Santa Cruz is going to let him get away with that at all. And when he's, waiting for the perfect shot and not throwing punches, Santa Cruz is going to be all up in there digging to the body, inside fighting. And that's not going to be very good for Gervonta Davis. As long as Santa Cruz can get inside, which I think he'll be able to, and go to work, I think he's going to be very successful in this fight. So shout out to D-Style. It's been very early on that. It took me a little while. I don't even think
he needs to even get in the inside, to tell you the truth. Santa Cruz, Leo Santa Cruz. I think that what Leo showed with his second game plan going in with the Carter Frampton fight was
Yeah.
jabbing the outside. He showed that he has the intelligence. He's intelligent enough to know distance. He's intelligent enough to use his jab. He's intelligent enough to know when to move. Yeah, let the fatter guy come after you. Let the fatter guy waste that energy. You let the fatter guy get comfortable, do the little shoulder roll, and try to scoot in with his feet. Keep him on the edge of your punches with that jab. I think that's all Santa Cruz has got to do. And then occasionally open up to that body like you just mentioned right now. But really, I could see the kid winning this fight with just his feet and a jab.
Yeah, I mean, if he does that, that would be very impressive. But I also can just as equally see him just out boxing from the mid to close range with volume punching. And you know what? Santa Cruz is actually one of the best defensive inside fighters. If it ever does get on the inside, he knows how to, turn his body to the left, turn his body to the right, stay unsquared in front of his opponent, move his head just enough to slip shots, and at the same time work combination punching.
I worry about this, about if Santa Cruz decides to go in the inside and work that. Everything that you mentioned, you're absolutely right. He's really good defensively in the inside, but you're going to face a bigger guy, and the bigger guy is going to put his weight on you. Being a smaller guy and getting in there, testing the waters with this big guy, can your legs afford that? Because once your legs go, which Santa Cruz is going to need his legs for this fight, then that's going to make him vulnerable. It's going to make Gervonta Davis have those pot shot moments, which could hurt Leo because he is the bigger guy. Davis, you can't take that away. Davis is a big puncher. Was Gamboa's chin better that night, or was it really Davis's punching power just wasn't there? If I was at Santa Cruz training camp in them, I would definitely not want to find out.
Yeah. Actually, what I really think, David, is that Gamboa does not.
Gamboa is not what? I'm sorry. You're on mute. Hey, Ron, PMC, Leo is going to outbox him at times. Tank has been in plastics all camp. See, that worries me there. You know what I mean? Because you're really sweating out so much. And if you're sweating out that much, that only tells me, man, that you're more focused on losing the weight, not focused on what game plan you're going to have. And with Leo Santa Cruz, like everything we've all mentioned, being the more valuable puncher, being a guy that's able to jab, being a guy that can work the ring, which he's proved and he's shown, Gervonta Davis is going to have a little aware of. He's got to have more. And if right now all their focus is weight, that tells me that they think that that's the only thing they got to worry about is their weight in this fight, not a strategy to beat Leo Santa Cruz. G Funk over here saying Tank is sleeping in a sauna suit. Tank is going to be slurring a bit. He's dehydrated. Yeah, I'm dehydrated, man. I've been drinking like water and Gatorade, zero Gatorades, like all day yesterday and today, man. I got to slow back there. On Saturday, I was having too much of a good time. Do we have a milk card back on? No, we don't. Does Tank come at 1:30? I don't think so. I think that there we go. I can hear a milk card now.
You can hear me now?
I can hear you now.
I don't know what the hell happened, but one sec, Dave. I'm hoping we get a sponsorship from these people. Athletic Brewing. All right.
I gotta try that,
bro. When you want a low calorie beer or a beer with no alcohol that tastes like it's actually good and won't fuck you up for the next day, that's my little endorsement right there.
Really?
Yo, I found these beers. I've been chugging them without any shame because I know that I'm not going to be putting on the weight, I know. I
put on a bunch of COVID weight here, but I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it. Nato says, does Tank come at 1:30? I don't think so, Nato. I think that they're going to miss weight, and I wonder if Leo Santa Cruz team are going to stay true to the word, which is say they're not going to fight if it's not at the weight they had agreed on in the contract. So that's a bit interesting. So that might be the reason why we're seeing Tank Davis there in all those plastic suits, because they're a bit worried he may not make weight.
Fam, that's another reason I want him on the inside going to that body. Tank has always had a problem making weight. He was struggling to make weight at 135 pounds. Now he's coming down to 130.
But not do it immediately. What I think that Santa Cruz should do to a guy that's struggling to make weight is that, see, Davis's whole game would be, I'm going to feel a bit strong in the first couple of rounds, and that's where he's going to, be the best. Okay, what I would do with Leo, I would tell Leo, drag him out a little bit, make him work for a punch, make him kind of chase you around, make him do things that he wouldn't do, so that he can start gasping for air. And once you see him start gasping for air, then slowly start jabbing to that midsection. Push out that air, flatten up those tires a bit before you decide you to go in the inside. Why go in the inside immediately with a guy that possibly has maybe 2 rounds in him to get you out of there? That's a no-no for me.
Yeah, I agree. He's got to box smart. He can't just go in there guns blazing and open himself up to what Gervonta Davis seems to only want to do these days, which is land the perfect one-punch KO shot.
Absolutely, man. What's your pick here really quick? Anybody in the chat room, let me know what's your guys' pick. Amilcar, who are you picking for Saturday night Showtime pay-per-view?
I'm picking Santa Cruz by decision.
Santa Cruz by decision.
Yeah.
Woo, man, I'm going to go Santa Cruz by decision, and I think that the championship rounds, I think he steps it up, and I think he gives a good pepper to Davis. Yeah, I'm going to go Santa Cruz by decision.
Yeah, I think that's
a unanimous decision too. I don't think there's not going to be a split. Well, I don't know. I mean, these goddamn judges and all, they can never know. But I think I'm going to go off of my scorecard. I'm definitely going to go off of your scorecard, and like G-Funks and D-Style, Joe Habib, everybody that's part of the Leaving Ring family. I'm going to go off their scorecard. But I would have to say across the board, I think that Leo Santa Cruz is going to probably have one of his best nights against Tank Davis. I don't know. It's not like I haven't eaten crow before, so might as well just go with that one there.
No, I'm with you on this pick as well. The more and more I thought about it, and the more I looked at his recent performances, the less and less confidence I had in Gervonta Davis's chances here. And you know what? Let's be real. Just as Teofimo was calling out Lomachenko and chasing that fight, Santa Cruz has been talking about Gervonta Davis for a while now. So he must see something. Maybe he sees what we see. Maybe he sees something more that leads him to have total confidence in his ability to beat Davis. Because this is one name he's been calling out for a while.
Yeah, definitely. In my opinion, there's never 100%, but I'm pretty confident about what Leo can do in there. I think that I just see that going that route. But then again, Davis does have that punchy power. He has that ability to turn it around with one big shot. We've seen that. But again, can he muster that? Couldn't he muster that up with losing all that water? It's a lot of water weight. He's in a suit. That draws you out. You're in the sauna. It draws you out. It makes your body. It actually makes you more relaxed. And again, if that's all you're concentrating, how many hours of the day are you trying to piss out your weight, and you're not really putting the craft where it really counts in that ring?
So, David, when you were talking about the 100%, I'm guessing you were referencing this, right?
The what?
The fact that
these style said 101%.
I thought you guys might be able to hear that, but I guess you can't. I went back to my crow sound effects.
The crowd sound, yeah.
I'm guessing they didn't work through my mix.
That's not a crow, right?
Yeah.
Is that a crow? I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
not good in. I can only impersonate like Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, 8-time, 4-time world champion.
that's a very good impression.
I thought so. They didn't think so when I went down over there one time.
Oh
You know.
no, I used to do Harold Letterman, who I disagreed with a lot. Hello, Jim.
That's pretty
Back to
good,
you,
dude.
Jim. Yeah.
Oh God! You know what you need to do? I need to get a hold of Julie Letterman. Have you call her to chew her out about her scorecard. You know, get in her head in there and tell her, hey.
I don't know what was going on there. So yeah, there you go. Are there any other fights?
Well, we have to continue on. Let's go to the zone on Friday night before Halloween, before all you kiddos out there dress up. I don't know what you guys are going to dress up. I'm actually going to just wear my regular costume, which is this Chicano costume that I wear all the time here on Saturday. But on Friday, I'm looking forward to the Murguia fight on the zone. I don't know about you. He's fighting Johnson.
Yeah, it's tough for me to say necessarily that I am looking forward to it per se.
What I'm looking forward to see is the hype train real, or does it get stopped?
Well, I just don't know what Toriano Johnson has at this stage of his career. And Munguia, I think, has already shown that he's not really going to be at the top championship level at 160. I think he mostly moved up because he couldn't make 154 anymore, and there honestly isn't a top fighter, at least one of the champions, I would say, at 160 that I think he has a legitimate shot at beating. I would pick Boo Boo against him, Andrade, obviously. I would pick, obviously, Jermall Charlo against him. I would pick, obviously, Canelo against him.
I may pick though. I mean, if I may say this, I think Johnson's by far what I would have to say is his best opponent yet for Jaime Murguia. And Johnson, I have to agree with Nato saying, this could be Johnson's last stand, and it could end up being a war. That's what I'm curious about, because Murguia was having issues making 154, moving up. Does he get back what he once had? Can he muster up the power that we once thought he had? What does it do to him to bring on those 6 pounds that he doesn't have to shed now? Does it get him stronger? Does it make him stronger? Do we see a refreshed Murguia? Or do we just see the same kid who doesn't have a lot of punching power, that needs a smaller guy in front of him to create a lot of damage, to create a lot of hype around him? Or does Johnson go out there and answer all the questions we have about him in that single fight on Friday?
Well, that's exactly what it is, David. I mean, he won his world title against a very small 154 pounder
Ali.
who beat Saddam Ali, who got his title by defeating a overaged, very small 140 pounder, and Miguel Cotto, who started his career at 140. And he beat him with size and strength mostly, Saddam Ali. Then he took on Liam Smith. Okay, I wouldn't really say that was a greatest opponent in the world. Right after that, it was Brandon Cook, even lower. It almost like he goes backwards. Then we had Takeshi Inoue. All right, that one was actually unanimous decision. That was actually kind of, and it was against a guy with 13 fights at the time. Then then there was Dennis Hogan in Monterrey, and that was the fight I actually thought he lost.
Lost the fight, right? A lot of folks thought he lost that fight. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if a majority decision in Monterrey, Mexico, is pretty much a win, and I personally thought that I think he's Irish Australian, won that fight. Then there was the Patrick Alotti fight. Okay, he got the KO, but I mean, was anyone really impressed with that opponent? And then there's Gary O'Sullivan. I mean, what do I really need to speak about him that much? I mean, I got two words for you when it comes to Gary O'Sullivan, and the first is David, and the second is Lemieux.
Well, he got Lemieux in that fight.
Right? And now he's moved up to a new weight class at 160, and I guess we'll see how he does. Right?
Let me see here on the chat room really quick.
Let me jump in there. I'm slow on the chat tonight.
Run. I like what Run put out here. Run PMC. Who should Jaime fight after this if he was to win against Johnson? Right? Who is there at 160 for him at DAZN? Well, I mean, there's a lot of guys there at 160 for DAZN. But the question is, yeah. But the question is, I think what really needs to happen is Friday night needs to happen first, right? That Golden Boy's team promotions need to see how good he looks, how good he performs, and then they go from there. Because in my opinion, what Golden Boy and Golden Boy's matchmakers trying to do is match him correctly because they feel that he needs time, as like they did with Canelo. They gave Canelo time to grow. And Jaime Murguia is like they're giving him time to grow. But problem, though, is that when they got rid of Robert Alcazar, I think that's where he started declining. I saw a lot of what Robert was doing with him started going backwards. And that's when the backwards that you were talking about, we started seeing. So I go back again. If he does blow out Johnson, which I don't see that happening, but then again, like I said, we don't know how much of shedding 6 pounds has done to his body, what has done to his power. Does he go out there and he looks like a rejuvenated Jaime Murguia? It looks like the bazooka we saw at one time. And if he is, I'm pretty sure Golden Boy knows where to direct him. But if he isn't, what is Golden Boy going to do with him?
Well, that's the big question. And just a reminder, everyone, you can text us if you want to join us. All right. So the number is 917-426-8296. All right. Text us to join us, 917-426-8296. We'll send you a link and you can come join us either with audio or with video if you're bold enough to show us your face. Anyway, so back to what you were saying. Where do they go? I don't really see them. Maybe they'll use him as an opponent for Saul Alvarez if Canelo wants to come back down to 160. There's Demetrius Andrade. I don't really see that as being a lucrative fight, even though he's the #1 contender in the WBO because he was the WBO 154 champion. If there's anyone there at 160 that he should take on, I think it's Gennady Golovkin. Just because Golovkin's older now, he barely scraped away with a victory against. Help me out, Dave. I can't remember his name right now.
Derevyanchenko?
Survey Derevyanchenko. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. Barely scraped away with a victory there. And yeah, I mean, maybe a high volume pressure attack will be just what's needed against a guy like Canelo against Golovkin, if he can kind of go through Golovkin's, vaunted power punches. I think that might be the best fight for him at 160. I don't see anything else really making sense because if he could get
Golovkin would want to fight him, though. You know what I mean? If there's no title on the line, how much money's really would be invested in that fight? I got to agree with Run over here saying David Lemieux maybe, but David Lemieux's at 168 now.
That's the thing. He's moved up.
That's the problem. Yeah. So David Lemieux would be the ideal opponent next. Though I would pick David Lemieux over Jaime Murguia at this time.
But here's the thing, David. You look at the IBF rankings, right? And you look at Gennady, who's got the IBF title. Gennady's got two options. He can either do a mandatory defense against a bunch of names that no one's ever heard of, right? Or he can defend his title in an optional defense against Munguia, who's also ranked by the IBF, by the way. Because guess what? Camille says Remeta, Patrick Wojcicki, Esquiva, Falcao, Patrice Volny. I mean, these are not names that are really gonna, excite people or get them to subscribe to DAZN. And if Canelo's just waiting around for Saul Alvarez to fight him, Canelo's already shown that he has no problems denying a fight to Triple G. I mean, that was.
I just don't see Jaime Murguia going after Gennady Golovkin at 160, and I'll tell you why. Because the Golovkin fight was offered to Jaime Murguia when Canelo was suspended for to be under investigation in the hair sample situation.
Yeah, but he wanted it.
No, actually, his team didn't want it. Remember, Sean Gibbons and them turned it down. Yeah, they turned it down.
I thought it was the commission. I thought it was the commission that said it was like an unfair fight.
It was the commission, but also when we had Sean Gibbons on the show, which helps manage Jaime Murguia at that time, they said they did not want that fight because this kid was still learning, and there's still much more to build on him. So that's my only thought is that I don't see that happening because Golden Boy knows potentially that they could generate money off of this kid. He's a big kid. Somebody mentioned in there he's got charisma. He is a volume puncher. He takes a lot of shots. He is an exciting guy. You know what I mean? But you have to match him correctly. Pig Iron put out a perfect name out there, which I think is going to be realistic. And he says, we're going to end up seeing Jaime Murguia against Steve Rose. I think that's more really, honestly, I believe that. I can see that happening here.
That is funny. Who said that?
Pig Iron.
Oh, Pig Iron, big up to you. That was a joke of the day right there.
It is a joke of the day, but at the same time, it's a realistic one. You know what I mean? I mean, I can't argue with that, man.
I guess I can't argue with it either.
Yeah. Joe Lopez, not impressed with Jaime Murguia. Nopal, the WBC steps in and stops it. Not yet. Yeah. There we go. Jaime Murguia. So let's go again, man. Give me your pick here. What do you think? What's going to happen on Friday on the zone between the young Jaime Murguia, who is trained by Eric Morales, the great Terrible Eric Morales, against Johnson, who I think everybody's in agreement that is it's almost he's got to fight for his career here.
Yeah, I think Johnson is a handpicked opponent. That's just what is needed for Munguia to stay busy. He's got a name. He's chinny. He's an aggressive fighter, and he's gonna create an interesting, exciting fight. And at some point, I see Munguia essentially knocking him out, likely a TKO in the later rounds.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Nopal, Murguia needs the Eric Morales footwork. Man, if that's something he would have to have started really early in his career. I don't see that happening now because what he's been doing has been working. And I don't know, he just doesn't have that grace, unfortunately. You know what I mean? I mean, that takes years and years and years of developing and learning and getting comfortable to have like certain type of footwork. You just can't learn that within 6 months to a year, because what happens is your memory will go back to how you feel comfortable when you get in trouble. And Jaime Murguia, as you can see right here, he does like to square up. He does like to throw wide shots. He does like to get in there and mix it up. I mean, he is a whirlwind, but I'm curious to see him get in there with somebody with size and somebody with a jab, somebody that can push him back. That's where I'm at and stuff. And I think Golden Boy is very aware of that, and that's why they're moving him up really slow. Not a big rush on that kid. I just don't see that happening even at 160.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably more well-suited for 160 in terms of making weight. Ooh, that was a nice shot. But I also think that the big dogs at 160 are a little bit too much for him right now.
Well, he could definitely go after Andrade. Andrade's got a fight coming up. And, there's a fight there that Andrade, Demetrius Andrade's not going to stay in there and try to mix it up with the kid. He's going to try to box him. And that could always be the fair thing, is that they could say if he loses to Andrade, which I think so, that's going to be, the no-brainer there. He would lose to a Demetrius Andrade. Or I would push, like what a lot of guys are saying here in the chat room. Pig Iron makes a great point as well. If Murguia beats Johnson and then he gets like a Steve Rose and beats him in a more better fashion than Triple G, then it makes up a great story for Murguia to get in with Gennady Golovkin. I think so too, because the interest there for Jaime Murguia is that Golden Boy's got to capture the imagination of the fight fans. They had it at one time, and the luster just kind of fell apart. They have to kind of build them right back up. So putting in the right guys where he knocks them out, and he knocks them out in great fashion, to me, it puts it on a great line for those two guys to mix it up. Gennady Golovkin, I mean, where else are you going to go? Your time is running out of that hourglass and stuff. You know what I mean? So he's got to think of something quick to keep them both guys in the name out there in the names for the Canelo sweepstake, in my opinion.
No, Paul Boxiano says a good point. He says he's got 10 years to catch up to Charlo, and shout out to Nando who's referred to GGG as a chicken hawk, which I think is an appropriate appropriate comparison.
Well, let's go into still on the zone, which on Saturday, happy Halloween. You got Alexander Usyk finally getting in with Chisora. Usyk has been out. We've been waiting for him. First it was this, first it was an injury, then the COVID hit. Things were falling apart, and didn't look like we were ever going to get to see him this year in 2020. Usyk, the great Usyk, the guy that unified the cruiserweight division, the guy that's actually been labeled right now as the greatest heavyweight to ever lace gloves here at Milcar. We're going to get to witness that against a very, very durable opponent. The greatest weight heavyweight.
The greatest heavyweight. Okay.
Yeah, the greatest heavyweight hasn't been a really good heavyweight.
It remains to be seen if he's even going to be the best cruiserweight to have moved up to the heavyweight division. I mean, right now you've got to put Evander Holyfield at number 1, and I don't know. I'd say probably David Haye or James Toney number 2. What do you think?
That move from cruiserweight up to heavyweight, you got Evander Holyfield, James Toney, like you mentioned. David Haye, I don't know. I think David Haye's still very questionable. I would have to pull up his career. I wouldn't have even thought about David Haye, to tell you the truth, unless you had brought him up.
Well, there aren't that many guys. David,
Thomas Adamek, I think I would put Thomas Adamek above David Haye, to tell you the truth.
But he didn't win a title at heavyweight, though.
I thought he did.
No, he didn't
win a title.
He got destroyed by Klitschko, man. Yeah, I mean, he's a good. I think he won titles. I know he won titles at 175, I think, and maybe at cruiserweight, but I don't think he won at heavyweight. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that he didn't.
I'm an Usyk fan. I love his IQ in boxing. I just find it hilarious when I hear his fans already labeling him like the greatest heavyweight, or not even just his fans, but you got like certain boxing media, even networks, already putting him up there before he's done anything. I get what he's did in the lower divisions. I get that the fact that he is a phenomenon to look at, but I don't get how he's created something that he hasn't even been at for very long yet, which is the heavyweight division.
Yeah, I think a lot of the lore is the result of him obviously being undisputed at 200 at cruiserweight and moving up. But I mean, he has yet to do anything at all in the heavyweight division. And
I mean, he does have size. I think the advantage that he has over a lot of heavyweights is the IQ, the hand speed, the footwork. That he's going to present a lot of problems to Chisora. But Chisora is a workhorse. He's a war horse, to tell you the truth. This is a good fight. This is a good one to put, to set the bar on how much of a threat Usyk really is. Is this going to be a one-sided fight for him? A one brilliant display over Chisora, showing that Chisora has seen his better days past, or is this going to be what we saw with Witherspoon, which was a Usyk that came in after a surgery in his on his hand, and literally it took him a while, which it's kind of his MO. He does take 5 rounds to kind of warm up and pick it up. You know, could he afford that against Chisora? I don't think he can. You know, but again, is it going to be a Usyk brilliant display of boxing, or are we going to see an ordinary Usyk at a heavyweight division against a warhorse like Chisora?
It's funny because I put up some highlights here, and we can see Usyk just going to town on Tony Bellew. Tony Bellew recently, I was listening to him kind of discuss the fight and was saying that Usyk doesn't have punching power, and I'm like, bro, you got knocked the hell out by Alexander Usyk. I mean, do you not understand what you're saying? Do you not understand what you're saying right now? I mean, you're out cold, like head through the bottom ropes. Anyways, Chisora I have never seen Chisora in a bad fight. I mean, he is always exciting, and I feel bad for him because of what happened to him in the Dillian White rematch, where he was winning, and I feel that even on the scorecards at the time of the knockout, he was winning, at least on 2 scorecards, I believe. And you know, he had those points taken away from him, which I thought were ridiculous point deductions taken by the referee. And he ended up opening him up. Obviously, he thought he was probably behind on the scorecards at that point because of the point deductions, and then kind of just got sparked by a counter left hook by Dillian White, and that was kind of the end of it. But I mean, their first fight was an all-out war, and every fight he's in, he brings it. So I know it's going to be a good fight, and I think it's a very good test for. I think it's a very good test for Usyk at this stage, because if he's going to be anything in the heavyweight division, he's got to be able to dispatch Chisora, which is something that David Haye actually did. Now that I bring him up again. In that fight he had at the old West Ham football stadium, where he kind of knocked.
We lost the Milcar again here on the show. I don't know what happened. He just bleed it out. There you go. I can hear him now. Let me see. Say something there, Milcar. No, can't hear you again. I don't know what happened there.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right. I know what the problem is. I got to change my mic cable after the show.
Here's the thing with Chisora, and I think this is what raises more questions about Chisora, is that if you look at his resume, he's fought the who's and the what's in the heavyweight division. There's no way you cannot say this guy doesn't belong in the heavyweight division, okay? But you look at the body of work he's done, it's a lot of work. So it's a lot of miles on those wheels, okay? But it doesn't take Chisora out of this fight, because Usyk, does he have the power to keep a very bulky man off of him? Because in my opinion, Usyk, all he needs to do is trap him at those ropes, and then he can do some work there. You know, can Usyk keep him off of him? Can Usyk take the punch that Chisora has? There's a lot of ifs around Usyk, in my opinion, because of the Witherspoon fight. But I still think that Usyk's style and IQ, it's going to get him out of a lot of trouble. But how healthy is Usyk going into the Chisora fight here? And how much of the COVID did it really take a toll on Usyk? Because the fact is he hasn't fought. They were supposed to fight in May. This is now happening in October on Halloween. So it could be a DoorDash for Usyk in this fight, or this could be a trick-or-treat for Chisora.
Yeah. I mean, the Spielka knockout was insane. And you know, I hope, if for Usyk's sake, I'm going for any of these two fighters. I actually kind of like both of them a lot. But if you're Usyk, he should not put himself on the ropes.
No,
because if he does that, War Chisora is gonna go all war on his head and on his body. I think Usyk needs to do what he does, which is move. All right, use his very good jab and throw in his combination punchings when it's appropriate. But I do not anticipate that he's going to try to brawl Derek Chisora. I don't see that going his way if he does that. One other thing I'm going to say about Derek Chisora, I mean, fam, this guy's like one of the most entertaining interviews in boxing.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Anytime he speaks, it's pretty much entertainment gold.
Yeah, most definitely. This has been a very anticipated fight just because that you got a character and a puncher in the heavyweight division, Chisora, and then Usyk is coming from royalty in a lot of folks' eyes. A lot of folks believe he's more hype in the heavyweight division, but then there's a lot of folks that don't because of what he's done in the cruiserweight division, which you cannot erase. You can't take that away from him. I see a lot of boxing IQ. But what we saw with the Witherspoon left a lot of folks believing that maybe this is not the division that you're going to be so, in so much glory at. But anyways, what's your pick, man? What do you got? Who do you got for this fight?
I got. Before I hit that, War Chisora, the Ricardo Mayorga of the heavyweights. Yeah, I got to agree with that. Great comment, Nando. I've got Usyk. As long as he does what he does, which is box. I mean, he's a very good boxer. I had a discussion earlier with Kenny, funny enough, over the weekend where he was asking me about if I thought Usyk would be competitive against either of the two champions. And I said to him that I don't really see him being as successful against Tyson Fury as I see him being successful against Anthony Joshua. Reason being, I think he's more skillful than Andy Ruiz. What Andy Ruiz essentially has on him is like, maybe 60, 70 pounds of weight. And I wouldn't really see that as good weight. So I think he'd be able to move around the ring very well. I think he's got a definitely respectable punching power, despite what Tony Bellew says, despite being knocked out cold by Usyk. So I see him being successful here, boxing, getting the decision, and then doing what he wants to do next, which is to demand a fight with the champion he's a mandatory to face, which is Anthony Joshua, who I actually think he can defeat.
G-Funk says 100% Usyk is who he's getting.
No more 100%.
Nado, thanks. Usyk by late TKO. Chisora runs out of gas more than anything. I have to agree with that. Jesus, What's up? How you doing, bro? Welcome to the chat room.
I'm going to tell you guys something actually pretty quick, Dave, about the 100% thing. I came very close on Saturday night to texting the panel group and saying that D-Style had convinced me and that I was no longer 100%, that I was now 99.99% certain. So, but yeah, I'm not ever gonna make a claim like that.
You had a Kenny moment, man. Let's just move on.
Look, it was my one attempt at a Skip Bayless style hot take, and it will be my last.
Okay, so the lawyer, I think Usyk rises to the occasion. His sleeper could sleep him. And I think Chisora is a sleeper. I see Chisora having a good moment. I've seen Chisora having good moments late in the fight. I do too. I wonder if Chisora, which I have to believe that Usyk at one moment in the fight during one of the rounds, he's either going to back himself up to the ropes or he's going to stand there long enough so that Chisora can clip him. That could change the whole momentum of this fight. But I think that Usyk still has the ability to recover. He doesn't seem like a fighter that takes things lightly. He's a very well-conditioned and you could see that he's very professional about his craft. Overall, I just see Usyk winning this fight. Could it be a tough fight? Whatever Chisora can just dig up and from the belly and produce, I think that can give Usyk a lot of problems. And I think it's going to still leave people believing whether or not Usyk is the real deal in the heavyweight division. I agree with you. I think Tyson Fury is all bad for him. I even think, I know you don't think Andy Ruiz, but I think Andy Ruiz a trained Andy Ruiz, a motivated Andy Ruiz could spell bad for Usyk as well because of their hand speed.
I agree.
And the punches put together. Even Parker, very difficult fight for Usyk. You know, Parker's a very technically sound guy. You know, there's a lot of good fights for Usyk in the heavyweight divisions, but we got to get past Chisora. So I'm going to go with a mandatory decision for Usyk beating Chisora.
Unanimous decision, Dave?
Mandatory.
Okay. So what I would say is that Chisora does have kind of in his favor on this one is that he does have some good experience against southpaw fighters. The most recent one was Spielka, who he destroyed. So he does have experience fighting southpaws. I think that might play in his advantage. But if Usyk stays off the ropes and is mobile, and you're right. I mean, the COVID break is going to be a true test of his
for both guys. But I think
for both guys of his fitness,
right? But I think more for me, in my opinion, I think Usyk is the one that it may affect more because Chisora has been a heavyweight.
Yeah,
so he knows I'm being a heavyweight. Yeah, really quick, Jesus. Yeah, man, this is Dave Duenez from NorCal, brother. Mm-hmm. What are you gonna say now?
So. No, I was just gonna say in terms of Usyk versus Andy Ruiz. I mean, at this point, look, we know Andy Ruiz is a very skilled fighter, but if we're gonna say if he's motivated to do something, he'll do well. I mean, if you can't get motivated to defend 3 heavyweight titles in a rematch of a guy that you already beat, I don't know what the fuck is gonna motivate you.
I don't know either, and honestly, have we heard anything? I mean, the last thing that we were hearing was the possibility of Andy Ruiz fighting Kristen Oriella, and that's just I kind of just fizzled out. I haven't heard anything about that. Look, now to put out there, WBO better not just hand Usyk the bout. Too many excellent contenders. The WBO is going to do that.
They've already done that. They've already done it. He's the mandatory because he was their champ at the lower weight division, and he's moved up. So that's done. What they're talking about now is maybe some step aside money to allow for a Joshua Fury fight. I think personally the reason he would not want step aside money is because he legit feels that he can beat Anthony Joshua, and he'd rather go in to a fight against Fury holding a title than facing off against Fury's undisputed champ with nothing. That's my take on it. I think he definitely sees something in Joshua that he can exploit, so he's definitely going to be pushing for that fight.
Nado puts, has anyone actually seen Ruiz training with the Reynosos? I haven't seen it, but you know what though? I'm the wrong guy to ask because I don't watch guys in their training camp, like when they put up videos. Because a lot of times they're going to put up like their best moments. I actually like going to the gym to see what they're doing, and that could even be a bit deceiving as well. You know what I mean? I remember going to Antonio Margarito when he was getting ready for Shane Mosley. He looked phenomenal, but they were getting a lot of newbies in there for him to face so he could beat down. And it, was more like a confident level because of everything that was going into that fight with himself, his back and all this other stuff that was happening with him. So that could be really deceiving and stuff. So that's why I really don't even pay attention to that, man.
Andy Ruiz goes through trainers almost as much as he goes through food. I mean, he was with Abel Sanchez, obviously. Then he ditches the trainer that took him to the world title, which I thought was pretty, pretty. I mean, that loss in Saudi Arabia had nothing to do with Manny Robles, and then now he's I guess going to Rain. Now he's making Reynoso not Reynoso. He's making Robles, I guess, a scapegoat and going to Reynoso. I don't.
Well, Andy's history. He's been there. Look, I don't know. There's over like 1,200 LA boxing gyms, and Andy's been to every one of them.
Yeah.
And
the funny thing is, I like Andy Ruiz.
Oh, I love Andy.
He's a nice guy. It's just that
absolutely
you want guys like this to maximize their talent, man. You know,
Geez,
how many people would die literally for 3 heavyweight titles, and to just throw it away like that?
I don't know. Not even Big Daddy Bo, screwed it up that bad.
Well, yeah, he threw away one.
He threw away one. I mean, and he's our Buster Douglas for Latinos.
Yeah.
Put a restraining order in all taco trucks within 2 miles of Andy Ruiz, said G Funk.
Yeah.
Oh, we got fat jokes, huh? G Funk got fat jokes. Okay. See, I'm thinking about food because I'm starving. Nah, bro, he's another Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Who Andy Ruiz? I don't want to go that far. Let's not go that far. That's like that's already jumping off the cliff,
Well, I mean, Julio Cesar Chavez had trouble making weight.
Yeah,
they've got that in common.
But Julio comes out every time he steps out. He quits before even stepping in the ring. How embarrassing is that? His poor dad. I feel bad for his dad. Anyways, let's move on, man. Let's keep going. Okay. Let's talk get some more boxing here.
Yeah.
On ESPN, is there any more fights on DAZN? Am I missing one on DAZN?
I'm pretty sure you caught up with most of the DAZN fights. I mean, there's the one
Showtime.
There's October 30th. All right. Showtime we've discussed October 31st, and then obviously October 31st we also had the Usyk Chisora fight, which we discussed. And the last fight that we haven't discussed is Inoue versus Jason Maloney.
Oh, now that's the fight that I'm waiting for. That's the fight I wanted to talk about here. Hey, I'll tell you what. Here's the thing that I like about what Maloney is going to be able to do to Inoue, the monster from Japan. A lot of hype on Inoue. His punching power when he came out, burst out in the scene. I mean, this guy moved up in weight and he was putting guys out. All of a sudden, he had to stop with Nonito Dornier. Maloney is smart enough, like Dornier, because Dornier is a crafty guy. Remember, here's one guy that he was in the pound for pound, list. A lot of folks were very hyped on Nonito before he got humbled by Rigondeaux, Guillermo Rigondeaux, right? What I saw and what I found about Maloney is that, about Inoue is that he is acceptable to a right hand. He's also not the quickest guy to get away from punches where you are in the inside with him, as we saw with Nonito Dornier. But the thing what I like about Inoue, which Maloney may have problem with, is that even if you're on the inside, Inoue kind of waits for you to do a pull, like get out of your work. You know what I mean? Like he knows you're not going to wait for your receipt, so he quickly just responds to that. And he was catching Nonito with beautiful left hooks. He was also catching him with right hands. The thing is that Nonito's jaw was just on point. Maloney's jaw's got to be on point. And Maloney also got to understand that he can't make those mistakes that Nonito was doing, which was pulling back. He's got to do his best work in the inside, then he's got to step around him. Or he's got to tie him up a little bit and walk back to those ropes. He can't allow the puncher to have that little bit of room, those little bit of inches to get in those short punches, because that's what Inoue relies on. That's where he's quick at. Blinding speed right there is when he's right there in that pocket and he's able to throw a counter shot and he catches you, clips you, and hurts you. This is a very interesting style. I like the fact that Maloney goes to the body. I also like the fact that Maloney's willing to go in the inside, because Inoue will allow him to do that. Inoue is not a guy that's going to move around. He's not like Manny Pacquiao, who uses a lot of footwork, in and out. He darts in and out. No, he likes it when you come to him. He actually likes it when you're comfortable, when you're right in range. Either you're like a 3 inches away from him or your arm length. He likes that. Okay, so that's where Maloney's got to become creative. He's got to start creating different openings for himself, also different openings where he's going to make Inoue miss. What do you think, Amilcar?
Yeah, I definitely agree with your take about what Maloney needs to do. Obviously Maloney hasn't taken on anyone as yet who's of the level of Naoya Inoue, who I think is one of the best the most dominant fighters in his. Well, he's the most dominant fighter in his division and is one of the most dominant fighters in the sport. Maloney's, the fight I saw, which we showed highlights of a moment ago, was a Leonardo Baez fight, the Mexican.
Yes, Baez. Yes.
And that he showed his skills and he did everything you said he could. He showed good range from the outside, could box on the inside. Australians usually are known for kind of being tough, but also utilizing tactics in their boxing IQ. It's Kostya Tszyu obviously being the best Australian fighter, although he was originally from Russia, I can think of. But even when you go further down the line, Australia's always had good fighters.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of his name right now that starts with an F, dude. I know why I went blank. He's a Hall of Famer. Yeah,
he fought Azuma Nelson, Jeff Fennick.
Fennick, there you go.
Yeah. Great fighter.
Yes.
Smart fighter. I'm a huge fan of Kostya Tszyu's son as well. But I personally think that the opponents he's faced have not prepared him for the likes of Inoue. Inoue's next level. And Nonito was able to tough it out because of his experience and also because of his punching power that had to be respected and his counterpunching skills. Nonito's had to be respected for those things. So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to end like a lot of Inoue's fights, spectacular KO. But we'll see.
I think that it could because of Inoue's power. But you know what? Sometimes the buck's got to stop, and I think the size is a difference. I think the reason why Nonito was successful and was able to absorb the punishment that Inoue, but not forget, Inoue did hurt Nonito numerous times in that fight, but he was able to recover. Okay, and this is a broken Nonito, in my opinion. Okay, this was not the freshest Nonito. So
no, not at all.
That's why I'm questioning how good is Inoue at that weight division.
And let's be honest, he was quite lucky to get to the finals.
Nonito was.
A bunch of things needed to happen for him to do that. And, he's got 18 KOs and 21 wins, Maloney does. So, he does have punching power.
No, he does have punching power. He does have good legs, which something Nonito lacked in the fight with Inoue. That's why Nonito had to go with that route of going forward, pressuring on Inoue, showing his presence with his power. I don't think Maloney's going to do that. I think because he has more option. He is the younger, fresher guy, in terms of Maloney and Dornier that Inoue's facing. So I think what Maloney need to do is, like I said, he's got to create these moments where he's not in front of Inoue to counter and clip him with those short, quick shots. He's got to make sure after he does his work, don't pull back, try to go around him, So it makes, because automatically, if I was with Maloney, I would tell him automatically, after you do your work, Inoue is going to wait for you to pop up like a gopher, and he's going to clip you. So instead of popping up, roll underneath him. So his hook goes over your head, and you're on the side of him now. That's how you're going to create the time to get away from him and counter him. That would frustrate Inoue because you'll make him now start thinking a bit quicker. Because right now he's on one-track mode. I'm going to knock you out. And the way he knocks out guys, watch when he fights Nonito Dornier. He knocks him out by allowing him to come in, and then he traps him.
Yeah, but he does do that. But he's also just as effective knocking people out to the body as he is to the head.
No, I agree with that.
He can knock you out. He can knock you out with a counter punch, or he can knock you out being the aggressive, come forward fighter. I personally, I think he's the total package. A lot of people are saying he should move up. I don't think he should move up at all.
No, I don't think so either. I think this is probably I think this is the top ceiling in my opinion. But I don't know. We never know. I mean, he may go out there and blow out Maloney. He may do it.
Yeah, and he moved up to this weight class. he could have probably stayed at 115 pounds longer than he did. I think he should collect all the belts at 118 and just defend those titles for a while.
Well, he's got a great fight. If he beats Maloney in such a crazy fashion, or even wins by decision, who does he got next? Who's the guy?
Oh, he's got Ubali.
Well, he's got Ubali, but he also got Casimiro.
Oh,
right?
Casimiro.
Casimiro. Yeah, dude, that's a woo. Jesus, Maloney's going to give him a fight. I agree. I think he is, But the one thing about Inoue that Amilcar was pointing out, and I've seen, is those body shots. That's one thing that Maloney's got to be cautious of, because even when Inoue fought Donaire, that's how he was breaking Donaire down, was those body shots. Remember, that's what hurt Donaire. I don't know what's going on, Amilcar. You got to fix your cord again. And there was a highlight right now of Inoue landing the uppercut and that body shot. Like I said, he doesn't forget to touch the body. So it's going to be a very interesting story, because it's going to be who establishes their body work first. Because don't forget, Maloney does go to the body as well, and he goes to the body fairly well, So this is a great fight, man, to tell you the truth. I think this is the all the fights that are happening on Saturday night, on Halloween, is going to be the best trick or treat for us. Honestly, I'm just excited about this here, for these fights that are coming up. But let's go really quick, Amilcar. I mean, I'm calling you Amilcar, man. Amilcar. Who do you got? Who are you picking for Saturday on ESPN between the Monster Inoue against Jason Maloney? I can't hear you. Plug in your thing.
Me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
And on the mixer for the rest.
Are you ready for takeoff?
Yeah. I'm sorry about this, Dave. I've got like five of these. I'll replace it right after we get off the air. I got Inoue by KO, and this highlight reel that we're showing is proof of why I should be confident in that pick. He's faced off against elite opponents and just sparked them, guys that are where Maloney wants to be. So I'd love to be surprised by Maloney. I'd love to see it go many, many rounds, because I think that would be entertaining to all of us. But Inoue's got a statement to make. This is his U.S. debut. And
the lawyer puts Maloney is there to do a job. I think with COVID going on, I don't think managers are taking chances on prize fighters losing, because their viewer count matters too much. You're going with Inoue by KO. I'm going to go with Inoue as well by TKO. I think that the body shots are going to really creep up. But I think that you're going to see a lot of vulnerability from Inoue. I think Maloney's going to expose. I think it's a very tough fight for Inoue. It's a really good fight, but I just don't know if Maloney can keep the pace, the movement, the angles long enough so that he could stay away from the big shots that Inoue is going to throw. Because here's the thing. David's conservative, very conservative with his punches. Inoue isn't. Inoue is going to land. He's going to land something big every single round. And it just I'm wondering, can Maloney hold up to that? Can he withstand the punishment, which is, it's going to be one shot here, two shots there, because Inoue is going to go, he's going to attack that body. He's going to look for that body. And if Maloney wants to establish his punches to the body, then he's got to be in the mouth of the lion. And I don't see that happening. I wouldn't recommend that at all. You got to plug in your mic again.
Both on the same page on most of these fights. I think we're on the same page on all of them, and I look forward to Saturday, and I look forward to Friday, and
absolutely,
I look forward to seeing you again next week to recap it all.
Yep, and I'm probably going to be on Saturday morning, guys. If just kind of recap everything. We do have a roundtable for Thursday on D Styles channel. We all should be there. If me and Milk are not going to be there, definitely there's going to be other guys leaving the ring on the roundtable. But I do have plan on being on first thing in the morning, early in the morning, to just recap the fights that are happening.
Or just hit me up. Just hit me up for that one day.
There you go. All right, guys. You guys have a great night. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy your trick-or-treating, all that other good stuff, because we're in for some treats on Saturday night here. Take care.